One Percenter Podcast with Sam Bakhtiar, bringing you the 1% knowledge to help you reach your full potential. Learn what it takes to rise above the 99% and become a 1%er.
So, Mark, I'm fascinated by the whole Netflix story. You know, we all hear all the time against, a small business going against a giant, Goliath, Blockbuster at the time. I used to go to Blockbuster. I didn't even know what Netflix was. I remember going to Blockbuster and getting all the late fees and getting stressed out about taking the DVD back and going and your movies not being there. Obviously, you guys saw a void in the market and you guys capitalized on it. I just want to hear from the start all the way through and all the trials and tribulations and everything that would happen for Netflix to begin.
So I think I have 20 or 30 hours. Is that what I understand?
Yeah. Just give me the highlights.
Yeah, because clearly it's a long story. And in fact, it is why I wrote the book, which is to try and give people the real ins and outs. But I can give you the quick shots.
For our audience, tell me the name of the book.
Oh, so anyway, the book is That Will Never Work.
Because that's basically what they told you, right? When you talk about you're going to do Netflix, you're going to ship DVDs, and they're like, actually, it ain't going to work.
Oh, it's everyone told me that. I mean, my investors told me that, my employees, my wife told me that. And listen, I'm sure you've been told that many times in your life with ideas you've had. Pretty much everyone's had that experience of being all excited and running down with this great idea, and then all the people they count on to support them go, that's never going to work. And so, and Netflix was certainly no different. And you were mentioning, of course, us going against Blockbuster, but I've got to be honest that at the time, taking down a $6 billion a year corporation is the furthest thing from your mind. And you certainly don't enter into this going, we're going to disrupt video, you just don't think that way. You're really thinking so much more narrowly focused on, I wonder if there's an alternate way to do video rental. I wonder if we can change the experience. I wonder if we can try and alleviate some of these classic problems that people have always had with video rental, the reasons that have caused them to really dislike Blockbuster so much. And in fact, when I used to gather the whole team together in those early months and try and inspire people with this big, bold vision, the big, bold vision was, if we do everything right, maybe we can be one of the top 10 video chains. Because if you said to yourself, we're going to try and take down Blockbuster, then you'd be so excited at the end of the first month, and you go, we're on track to do $1 million in revenue. Blockbuster is $6 billion.
Yeah. You get discouraged, right?
It's the height of hubris and unrealistic aspiration. But it's also, you kind of don't want to set these objectives that are not the end. It isn't like all of a sudden, as soon as you vanquish Blockbuster or even pass them, that all of a sudden the trumpets sound and you're done. Because then you look up and, well, there's Amazon, or there's Apple, or there's Comcast. And
it's so funny, it's now you become the Blockbuster. Now everybody comes after you, right? So it's, business is always evolving. There's always competition. And especially when you're at the top, there's other people that are looking at you and say, well, what can we do to knock him off the throne? Or what can we do to better do business with them, So tell me in the beginning, what did you see? You saw that, I remember growing up, even before Blockbuster, you go to the little local video store, right? You get a little membership card, you go in there, at first it was like VHS, right? And then there was the DVDs and all that kind of stuff. You rented. Sometimes they need to see your gas bill or phone bill to make sure you live in the same area, And I remember, there was late fees. A lot of times when a new movie came out, they ran out the new movie. They didn't have enough. That I was like so pissed off because you would go in there. I'm like, I want to see this movie. Oh man, it's already taken. So you saw a void in that market. Is that what you saw? You like, there's got to be a better way to do it. I wonder if we can ship DVDs. And I think I read or watched somewhere that you guys went and bought just a regular CD and shipped it to see if something happens to it. And you shipped it, and everybody was like, no, nothing happened. It's cool. And that was like, boom, that was the aha moment, right? That was the aha moment that this is what we're going to do.
Well, you know, you have it partly right. But it wasn't as if we had always had our aspirations on being a video rental company. It wasn't like I was a videophile, you know, that you and I would be discussing the best French directors, or, you know, I was a pretty normal video consumer like anybody else. And at this time, this is in the spring of 1997, so 23 years ago. And at the time, the company that I was working for was being acquired. And they had let me know my job was going away, but that I needed to stick around for 6 months while the merger finalized, but that I wouldn't have much to do. They'd keep paying me, my options would vest, I'd have my office, I had to come to work every day, but nothing to do. So I was going, this is perfect. This is the chance to start my next company. And at the time, I was indifferent for the most part about what that next company would be. I had very, very few limiters. I did know that I wanted to do something that involved selling something on the internet. This was early internet. I mean, Amazon was probably 1.5 years old, and they only sold books, but they were demonstrating the power that the internet had for selling things. And I said, I want to do that.
So you were inspired by Amazon. Like, God, these guys are doing that. So I wonder I can sell something on the internet.
Yeah, and even going back a bit further than that, the first 20 years of my career, I was a direct marketing guy. I was junk mail. I did mail order. I did magazine subscription work. I did catalogs. So I was in the my whole career was selling things
Marketing
to people who weren't in front of me. Just selling things to people who are either I was mailing catalogs to or mailing pieces to, direct response. And I saw the internet as direct response on steroids. I saw that this was the future of how we'd be selling things to people. So I go, that's what my next company is going to be. And ideally, I go, I'd love it to involve personalization. And I'd like it, if I could, have it be some sort of subscription element. And so I began playing with ideas. Now, the second fortuitous thing is there was someone else who was also losing their job in this big merger, which was a guy named Reed Hastings. And Reed, unlike me, did not want to start another company. He was going to go off and become an educational philanthropist. He was going to go change the world of education. But, you know, once you're an entrepreneur, you're always an entrepreneur. And he wanted to kind of keep himself involved. So we came to an agreement that we come up with an idea for a company together, that he'd be my angel investor, that I would start and run the company. And so we began brainstorming ideas. And every morning we would pick me up at my house. We lived in Santa Cruz, California, and we would commute over the mountains to our office in Sunnyvale, in the heart of Silicon Valley. And I would pitch ideas. And before you get too excited, these were ridiculous ideas.
I bet.
You know, one of my favorite.
Tell me some ridiculous ideas. Tell me a couple of ridiculous ideas you threw at them.
Well, one that would certainly appeal to guys like you and me is personalized shampoo.
Okay.
Like the idea was that you cut off some of your hair, you mail it in, our scientists formulate a custom shampoo just for you, and you subscribe to it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Wow. Wow.
And, you know, maybe, I think there is that now, but I was 23 years too early, and we shot that one down. So, okay, next day, another good one. We're going to do custom dog food. It's going to be formulated for your breed, its weight, its gender, your climate, its activity level. And again, you'll subscribe to it, this custom blend. And that also got shut down. And then a crazy idea, which was we're going to do video rental by mail. You'll come to a website, you'll pick out a movie, we'll mail it to you. It'll take 2 days, then you watch it for a week, and then put it in the mail and mail it back. And we go, that's kind of interesting, because video rental is a huge $8 billion category. One little problem is this is the spring of 1997. And video used to come on those VHS cassettes. You know, they're big and they're heavy and they're expensive. And so I did some research and I go, there's just no way you can make this work for any kind of reasonable economics. And so out the window it goes of the car and lands on the pile of shampoo and dog food. Until we had one of those lucky things happen, is Reed hears about this new technology being test marketed in San Francisco called the DVD. And the DVDs are small and thin and light, size of a CD. And it gives us an idea. But not an idea out of the blue. It's the type of idea that it's similar to like you're cleaning up your house, your apartment, and you move the sofa and you find a jigsaw puzzle piece. And you go, what? Oh my God, this is the piece that completes that puzzle I was working on 2 months ago. That we never could finish it. And all of a sudden we realized DVD could allow us to rebirth this video rental by mail idea by mailing the DVDs. And so rather than then rushing to the office and doing a business plan or, you know, working on a pitch deck, we go, let's just figure out whether this is bullshit or not. And turn the car around and we go to Santa Cruz. And as you described, we couldn't find a DVD because it's in test market. So we buy a music CD and then go a few doors down and buy a little envelope, like you mail a greeting card in, put the CD in the envelope, go to the post office and mail it to Reed's house in Santa Cruz. And the next morning, when he picks me up to go to work, he just holds up this little envelope with an unbroken CD that had gotten to his house in less than a day for the price of a stamp. And, you know, they, in screenwriter speak, there's a thing called the inciting event. And if there was an inciting event, that was it. And that from that point on, it was like, wow, let's figure out if we really can do this or not.
Wow, amazing. So then what happened after that? So you know, you found out that you can mail a DVD for cheap.
Right.
You know, and it's like, you know, so that changed the problem. How did that start, you know,
if this is back again, we're still in 1997. I mean, you know, this is like the steam engine was only a few years before this or something like that. But seriously, like now, if you had an idea for a website, you know, you just get a Squarespace or a Shopify and you put your credit card in and boom, you've got a website. Wasn't quite that easy. You wanted an e-commerce website, you had to write it yourself. You wanted to serve the pages, you had to install your own servers. You wanted to take payments, you had to write the transaction portals with the banks. Everything had to be done from scratch. So we did some initial research into things like how many DVD players are they supposed to sell and what are they going to cost and how much is a DVD and how many people will it take for me to build a website? I mean, question after question of things that had never been done before. And ultimately we decided the only way we're really going to figure this stuff out is doing it. And so Reed wrote a check for $1.9 million. Then he asked me to go out and fundraise another $100,000 from 4 other angels, which is a whole different story. But I then rented a crappy little office with dirty carpet, an old bank building.
A check for 1.9 million and told you to raise 100,000. Usually somebody writes a check for 100,000 and tell you to raise the other 1.9 million. Why was it the 100,000? You know, because 1.9 million to $100,000 is a huge gap. And 100,000 is nothing compared to 1.9 million. So is that all he had, or did he want to test you to see if you're going to go and be able to, you know, make it happen?
So I'm sure that you've had this experience where you're with a friend or with a business partner and you have this idea and the two of you start riffing on it and you both get super excited and you never really know, are you in an echo chamber? Is it just the two of you or would anybody else find this interesting? And so I think, because initially Reed goes, no problem, I'm in with $2 million, let's just do it. And then a couple of weeks later, he goes, you know, I've been thinking, it might be a good idea to get some external validation. And the other thing that I'm sure you've experienced, and everyone else who's listening has probably experienced that as well, is you go to your friends and you tell them this idea, and they go, "Oh, that sounds great." And you say, "Are you willing? Would you write me a check for $25,000?" They go, "Whoa, whoa, whoa."
Not that good.
Not that good, exactly. So I think part of this was us going out and just making sure
Somebody else will put their money on it. Got it.
in this echo chamber.
Got it.
And, so I had to ask a number of different people. And again, lots and lots of "that'll never work"
That's why you're
reactions. Yeah.
I love it. So you found what, 4 other people to invest,
Yeah.
Like $25,000, right?
Yeah.
And they will become the founding members of Netflix, right? So it was like what,
Yeah.
4, 5, 6 people altogether in the beginning.
Yeah.
I think was it your mother or?
Yeah, it was my mother.
That's what I thought. I knew you had up your mom.
Yeah, and that's always an interesting fundraising situation, because you kind of it's this very ritualized ask, where I think that eventually she'll do it, and she's going to do it for reasons that have nothing to do with the fundamentals.
Yeah.
And she knows she's going to do it for reasons that have nothing to do with the fundamentals. But both of you have to go through this little kabuki theater thing of pretending you're pitching and she's asking questions, and in the back of her mind she's going, what?
So you had $2 million. How did you spend that $2 million? Was it on the website and all the coding and buying all the DVDs and all that kind of stuff? I mean, I'm imagining, a lot of it went to the infrastructure, and some of the so-called the DVDs that you got to buy and all that kind of stuff. How did exactly, where that $2 million go?
Well, actually, I think yes, and yes to all your postulates. So the thing is, building a website required a lot of people and a fair amount of time. I mean, we had 12 full-time employees. We had probably 6 or 7 part-time people. This was all to write the website. This was all to design the infrastructure of how we're going to run a business, to figure out what are the envelopes going to look like. Then it means you have to go out and build the inventory. I mean, we were fortunate in that I think at launch day, there was, I want to say 900 different DVD titles available total. But we said the one way we can be competitive with Blockbuster, in fact, better than competitive, is by saying from day one, we have every single title available. But that meant going out and finding every single title and then buying enough of them that even in the most outrageously optimistic forecast, we'd have enough.
So
then, of course, you need marketing dollars to ensure you have people coming in the door. And then you also need to make sure that you don't run out of money on day one. So you want to have some powder dry. And I think our rule of thumb was we wanted to spend about half of it up to launch, and then the other half of it holding on until we could demonstrate that there was a there, and then go out and raise additional money.
Like a normal movie DVD, how much did it cost you?
Well, one of the wonderful things was that they were pricing it to buy, whereas for weird reasons, a VHS cassette would cost $100. I mean, because back then, the studios were saying the video store is going to buy it from us once and rent it 50 times. The hell with them. We're going to charge enough money that we capture all of that up front.
Got it.
With DVD, the studios said, we think we'd like to have this be a collectible, the same way people would collect music or books. And so they said, we're going to price it for $20. So that you could largely get them wholesale for anywhere from $14 to $19.
Got it. So for you to get your money back on one DVD, what did it need to happen? Because I know you're a numbers guy. I know you knew that number.
Yeah, it was a tricky economics because we were renting it. Again, back at the beginning, it was a la carte, not subscription. You paid $4 per rental. And out of that $4, we had to pay for postage in 2 directions. We had to pay for the envelope. We had to pay for the labor. And that left about $1 to $1.50 to begin paying back a DVD. So if we spent, I don't know, $12 on a DVD, we had to rent it 8 times to make our money back. And if you think about the timing here, it took us about a week to do a full turn or more.
Okay.
So you had to keep that DVD active for 2 months. And you can begin seeing why everyone was saying, that'll never work.
I'm saying that to myself right now because, by the time, that movie, every movie is not going to be hot for that long anyway. After a while, like I already, nobody wants to see a movie that was out a month ago. This is a new movie out all the kinds of week. Obviously, what happened that people found out about, Netflix? Because obviously you got your website, you got everything going on. You're a direct, sales marketing guy. So I know you went, you did your magic. But what was the medium? How did you get people to buy and be aware of Netflix in the beginning?
So we had 2 things we did, and we're trying to launch a business into a category where pretty much nobody owned a DVD player. And those that did were scattered. There was no concentrations. You certainly couldn't do radio or television. You couldn't even barely do magazine. There was just no way to reach. There was no mailing lists of DVD owners. So we did 2 things. So one is we had an employee who we said what he was doing was called black ops. But what he was really doing was infiltrating the user groups. So this is really early on when it was just starting to be these Usenet groups of people gathering on the internet to talk about geeky stuff. And there was Usenet groups for DVD or for people who are video files. And he would infiltrate them as one of the users, one of the participants, and begin chatting people up and say, hey, I heard about this. Someone told me about this company which is doing DVD rental by mail. Have you heard about it? Netflix? And that was one. But the real fundamental way we did it was we solved a chicken and egg problem that the DVD manufacturers had. And that by a chicken and egg problem, the problem here was that the DVD manufacturers were trying to sell $1,000 DVD players at the time. And so consumers were saying, why do I want to spend $1,000 on a DVD player when there's no place in the country that actually stocks DVDs? And the places that would normally stock DVDs were going, why am I going to invest in stocking DVDs when no one has a DVD player? Sure. And so we realized we could jumpstart that by bridging that gap. We could go to the DVD manufacturers and say, we will allow you to sell your player with the promise that each person who buys it can find a place, us, that has every single DVD available. And that was, I thought, a brilliant idea, but it collided with the reality that that DVD manufacturers were not internet companies. They were largely Japanese, Korean, consumer electronics companies with long supply chains, very conservative cultures, and getting them to do a deal with this completely unproven startup with an upside down balance sheet took everything I had. I spent probably in those first couple months, 2 days out of 3, traipsing through the wilds of suburban New Jersey, visiting these office parks and the headquarters of the Sonys and the Toshibas and the Panasonics, trying to convince them to put a sticker on their box and a coupon inside that said, buy a Sony DVD player, get 3 free DVD rentals from Netflix.
Wow. Wow. Genius. Genius.
Brutal. Just thinking back, I'm having a post-traumatic stress disorder.
Yeah, I can just see you going there, ulcers and getting doors shut. You lost your mind. Who's this little company coming in my room and all that kind of stuff. When did you guys first saw that? Oh my God, I can't believe it. Like, I can't believe these numbers are coming in.
It's always amazing you have enough, and it's always depressing you don't have enough. So, on day one, I think we did 100 and some odd orders. 100. that blew me away. That was the whole first month forecast. So I was going, oh my gosh, people actually have heard of this. And of course, in retrospect, 100 orders is ridiculous. And then I remember a year and a half in, we finally cracked the code of the repeatable, scalable business model. We figured out something that consumers wanted, that we could give them that cost us less than what they were willing to pay. Mm-hmm. And then a year into that program, we had 250,000 subscribers. And at that point, I went, oh my God, I can't imagine we have 250,000 subscribers. You know, and so now I'm going, my God, we have 160 million subscribers. That blows me away. And I'm not even sure when to think we're there. But listen, you also find this validation in funny places. I remember one time I was like doing the New York Times crossword puzzle. I grew up in New York. It's like one of my weaknesses. And the clue was service with a Q. And I went, oh my God. And I was doing it. And the answer, of course, was Netflix. I could not believe that we had made the big time. Wow. And I think that probably was the moment when I said, wow, we made it. We made it.
You know, so at one time you started, the company started Netflix Express.
Yeah.
Right. You know, those are little kiosks like, you had in convenience stores and all that, and people wouldn't just got it. Was that because you wanted to offer something that had like immediate gratification, or people didn't even have to wait a day or two to capitalize on it? What was the notion behind it?
This was in 2002, and by then Blockbuster had woken up. Blockbuster had realized,
okay, I got to pay these guys some attention.
Yes, I've got to pay attention. And they'd been paying attention in a half-assed sort of way for a number of years. You know, they'd put their B or C team on it, never their A team. They underfunded it. But then they finally were getting it right. And we knew that we had a serious vulnerability, which was what was a blended model. That if Blockbuster had said, we have Blockbuster Online, which would have worked exactly like Netflix, or you can just run to the store and pick it up, or you can pick it up from the store and mail it back, or you can mail it to us and return it at the store. We would have been in big trouble. And so, in fact, one of my very last project at Netflix before I left was how do we figure out a way to compete with Blockbuster in a blended model? And we did not want to go down the path of having bricks and mortar stores, but we thought having a kiosk.
Thank God, right?
Might have been a more efficient way for us to very, very quickly gain a national footprint. And we thought a kiosk actually might work more seamlessly with our online business. And so, yeah, I spent the summer of 2002, I believe it was. No, summer of 2001 in Las Vegas, Nevada, up in Summerlin, in a Smith's supermarket, where we were testing out the concept of using a video rental kiosk.
And how many kiosks were you able to put, all across the country?
Let's see, 0. So what we did was we did a classic thing. You heard at the beginning how we decided when we all of a sudden we had the idea for DVD, rather than writing the business plan or building the pitch deck, we immediately said, let's figure out whether we can actually mail a DVD. And we didn't even mail a DVD, we mailed a CD. We did the same thing with the kiosks. We did not need to test whether a machine could actually spit out a disc, because we knew that would work. What we were curious with is how would customers behave? Would they sign up? Would they use the kiosk more or the online more? Would they return, rent? How would this work? And so we faked it. We basically built a little video store inside the Smith's supermarket, but the way you interacted with the video store was you would pretend it was a kiosk, but rather than touching buttons, you would tell a clerk, rather than browsing the racks, they would hand you the disc. Because we figured we could proxy what the behavior would be like. And so using that, we could try things, we could change it instantaneously. We could try one price one day, a different price the next day.
Assuming the business model didn't perform as well as, you thought you might perform, so you guys canned it.
No, it actually performed phenomenally well. And we came home, pardon me?
You guys sell it to someone and became Redbox?
No, so the partner who I was in Nevada with that summer was Mitch Lowe. And Mitch Lowe was one of my very first employees who I had hired because I figured, Reed and I are starting this video company. Neither of us have any experience in the video industry. It might make sense to have somebody who understands this business. And we hired Mitch because Mitch had his whole life in the video store industry. And Mitch had always dreamed of a kiosk. And Mitch was my partner in Nevada on this test. And we worked together, and we came back to Los Gatos, California, to the headquarters and said, it's doing amazingly well. But we then had the meeting and decided that it was defocusing for the company, that this required being in the hardware business. It required having a footprint all over the country. This was not what we wanted to be in.
A little too much.
It made total sense. And Mitch,
I'll do it.
Yep. And he took that and he went to McDonald's and pitched it to McDonald's, and it became Redbox.
Wow. So Redbox is owned by McDonald's?
It was.
It was.
And then it was bought. Then McDonald's sold their stake to Coinstar, who owns it now.
Wow. Oh, wow.
That was the genesis of Redbox, which then Mitch, of course, went on to run Redbox.
All right. So at what point did you said, all right, because from what I see in your story, and I mean that in a very sincere way, it looks like you have an entrepreneur ADD. like you are starting stuff. You are a true definition of entrepreneur, because you're out there, you start so many different things. You're into so many different, when I was reading your bio, I lost a number of companies you started and are a part of. But at what point did you say, okay, man, I did what I had to do in Netflix. Now I want to, do something different. Why did you leave Netflix?
One of the things you figure out as you get older, if you're lucky, is some important things. And one is, what are you good at?
I know what you can say. Go ahead.
And the other one is, what do you like? And that what success is your chance to do something you really enjoy doing and are good at. And success is not working for a big paycheck. If it's doing something you're not good at, don't like. Success is not having a big title. Success is that chance to do the things you want to do. And, I was at Netflix for 6-7 years, if you count all the planning stuff. And we were successful as a company. We had an IPO. We were able to hire incredible people. And I still loved this company. It was my baby, and I still wanted to fight the fights and vanquish the foes and right the wrongs. But the things that I was doing every day, I wasn't enjoying the problems I was solving. And quite frankly, I wasn't very good at it. They're different when a company is that scale.
Oh yeah, it's different. Yeah.
And I realized that I have choice in my life in what I do. And what I love doing, and immodestly, what I'm good at, is early stage companies.
Yeah.
I just have a sense for that.
You enjoy the startup.
Yeah, that's the thing. I love that feeling of totally unsolved problem, hundreds of them. I love working with these really smart people, sitting around that table, solving these really cool puzzles. And so I hated to leave Netflix because I loved the company, but fundamentally I realized I wasn't the right person to be in a senior position there. And I had the opportunity to take the things I've learned over 40 years as an entrepreneur and help other people do it. Yeah. And that's what I've been doing. And that's what the book is about. That's what my speaking is about. It's recognizing that everyone has an idea. Doesn't even need to be for profit, but they all have some dream they want to accomplish. And I've kind of realized that all the stuff that I've learned in all the companies I've done and everyone I've worked with can be applied by anybody to make their idea real. And I'm trying to get that out there.
You said in one of your interviews that one of your biggest goals was to stay married,
Yeah.
right? Because entrepreneurship can be very hard on a relationship, whether and a marriage. I know I had a failed marriage because I was just working all day, and basically my wife was my mistress, and the business I was into, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you realize that, I think I saw in one of your interviews, you said something like, I don't want to be on my sixth business, I'm on my sixth marriage,
Yes.
you know what I mean? So you knew, you knew that at some point, man, that's your most important thing. And a lot of people don't realize that because they chase money. And next thing you know, the whole family, falls apart and all that kind of stuff. When you decided to leave Netflix, what was, how did that conversation go with your wife?
Oh, she was delighted.
Come home, baby.
Yeah. It's funny because when we began talking about this, my wife would talk to her friends and go, yeah, Mark's thinking about leaving Netflix. And they would say things like to her, like, oh no, what are you going to do with him around the house? And she was like taken aback. And because both of us, this is going to sound corny, both of us really enjoy spending time together. That's been a priority of ours since way before Netflix. Back when I realized, probably when I was in my mid to late 30s and working like crazy and recognizing the toll it was taking on the relationship and waking up and saying, like you said, I don't want this to happen to me. And I have to make this the big rock. I have to make this the priority. I've got to fit the work around the relationship, not fit the relationship around the work. And so it's not the kind of thing you can wake up one day and just do. Like any problem, there's a lot of trial and error and a lot of solving. But that was 30 years ago, 25 years ago. So we had gotten pretty good at it by then. And it's not even necessarily about your relationship as you have work and your relationship. The better way to think about it, and again, this is kind of corny, but it's about balance, because you need everyone's different, but you need multiple things in your life to make you whole. And I love the business problem, the making money piece, but it's more, I love the intellectual business thing, and that has to be there. But I love spending time with my wife and my family, but I also I'm an outdoors guy, and I need to get out and surf and mountain bike and ski and climb and kayak and all those things. And that, believe me, that's almost harder to make time for than the wife and the businesses.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad, man. Not too many people see that until it's too late. Including me. Like I said, and I can vouch for that. So when I heard that on the interview, I'm like, man, this guy gets it. This guy gets what the most important thing is. He's not playing the wrong game. Sometimes we play a game to win, and we're like, wait a second, I played the wrong game.
Solving for the wrong thing.
Yes. Right now, what are you the most? I'm not even going to ask you what are you involved with. That's going to be the 24 hours of all the stuff that you're doing and all that kind of stuff. But I do want to ask you, what are you most excited about? What are you starting? What are you up to? Because knowing someone like you, you thrive on creating the next thing, looking at the next thing, and solving a problem. What are you solving right now? What are you working on? If you can tell us, if it's not, if it's not a secret that you're super excited about.
See, I mean, you're looking for me to say, oh, I'm doing some cool AI stuff, and that isn't the piece that's exciting to me. And the thing that I've realized is exciting is the unlocking of the people, which is seeing someone who has this idea And, you know, if you're an experienced entrepreneur, you're further along. If you're just a college student, it's just this dream. And I've learned I know how to unlock that for people.
Make,
And
make that into like make it to live.
yeah, you know, everyone, what's it call it? The single biggest piece of advice that every single person gets, and every single graduation speech is like, follow your dreams. You know, but no one ever, like, there's no class called Follow Your Dreams 101. No one tells you how to do it. And kind of the reasons that I wrote That'll Never Work is because I kind of have figured out some stuff that people can use to make their dream real. And I do a lot of work with people who are doing it for profit, because I find those problems interesting. But I do it for a lot of people who are solving simpler problems. So the thing that's exciting me is that I do now get a chance to work with some other really bright, really interesting people who are starting companies. And I said before, the thrill for me at Netflix was coming to work and sitting around the table with super smart people solving really interesting problems. And I've kind of figured out a way to get my methadone that way, is I get to sit around the table with these really smart, generally younger people, and help them solve these problems. And that's thrilling. But the best news is that I get to go home and go for a mountain bike ride while they stay up all night making it happen. But and when I pick a company, I'm not picking it because I'm thrilled with the technology. I pick the company to work with because I'm thrilled by the opportunity to work with a certain person.
I love that, man. I don't know if I've met too many people like you. That say, that you love being in a room of smart people where, they have ideas. You can throw in your ideas. You can, go from concept to, to make it to a product or a fruition. But Mark is just amazing, man. Just diving deep into your psyche. Brother, I said it in a good way. You are insane. Way. I'm sure you heard that before, and
Yeah.
Not the first time. But again, the insane people look at things differently, look at it from a whole point of view, not the standard way everybody else is looking at it. That's why you've been able to be so successful. You have, started so many startups, and now you're in a position to kick back and talk all about it.
But you know what I like is that you are drilling into the part that there's a psychological big piece to this as well. It's a mindset, not just a set of tactics. And one of the things that I've learned a long time ago about startups is focus. You have to be really clear about what it is you want to accomplish and recognize that you've got to really keep your eye on that prize all the time.
10 different things on just one or two metrics.
Exactly. And what I realized is I can apply that to my personal life too. Which is, I want no big metric. I want, at the end of all this, I want to still be married to my first wife, still have a relationship. I want my kids to know me and like me. And I've recognized early on that will not happen randomly. That it's something I have to set my eye on and say, what do I need to do in my life to ensure that happens? What do I have to do to make sure I have the time to get out and do the things that I know make me whole as a person, the outdoor stuff? How do I make time to fix my business niche? In other words, I've applied the same sense of focus to how I want to live. So I'm incredibly lucky, and I'll be the first person to say that so much stuff has broken my way, not the least of which being born in the country I was born in, to the family I was born in, going to the schools I did. So there's a huge amounts of luck here. But part of it is also positioning yourself to be able to take advantage of the breaks you're given. And that's important for people too.
Are you a big creature of habit? Do you have, some, the way I see the way you talk is you pretty much schedule things for your family, schedule things for your surf, and schedule things for all the kind of stuff. So, for you want to know, okay, what's your perfect day looks like? What does your perfect life look like? So, okay, well, here's what is going to be my perfect day. I need to spend some time with my wife. I need to go to surf. I need to, go to some meetings, be around. So, I have a feeling by just looking at you that you have a very, regimented routine, for you to follow, so you can, be balanced the way you want to be balanced. Is that true?
It is, but it's not this. It's not this ridiculous. Oh, he's micro scale. It's not like Tim Ferriss type stuff. It's that we've all realized this, that if you say, I'd love to go for a run today, I'm going to wait and see if an hour magically appears. Yeah, good luck with that. So you've got to say, I want to go for a run today. I'm going to block out the period I'm going for the run, and I'll fit everything else in around that. And that's on the micro scale. So yes, as soon as I'm done with this call, I mean, I'm going to go grab my stuff and I'm heading out for an hour, and that's fine. But here, on a macro sense, when I'm scheduling, like today, for example, when we were arranged to speak, probably when you called to say I'd love to chat with Mark, she said we have a day, we have March 19th, or we have April 8th. And that's because it's not like March 20th. Now I'll confess here, it's wide open. Not a single appointment, on purpose. Everything's crammed into the 19th, because the 19th is a day where I'm going to sit at my desk, get stuff done. 20th, I'm going to sit and have coffee with my wife. We're going to watch some sports.
Netflix and chill.
There you go.
Brother, this has been amazing, man. I've been looking forward to this interview. I've been fascinated by the whole story. This is an interview for me, and everybody else gets to listen to it, because I'm like, man, I remember, when they first started, because I remember, I was just fresh out of college, when I heard of it, and then next, I saw the red boxes, and then I remember going to Blockbuster. Next thing, the Blockbuster, shut down. And I'm going like, what the hell? All these things. And now I found, I'm talking to the guy who he was the founder and, and the CEO of all of it when it comes to it. Marc, it's been a pleasure. I know you got to get out here pretty soon. But for people who haven't heard from you or want to learn more about your speaking gigs, your book, and where to find you on social media, can you go ahead and tell us that?
Sure. The place I would start is with the book, which is That Will Never Work. And here's the tip, is that in the book, I actually give you my personal email so that people who read the book are all contacting me, which is great. But otherwise, there is a website, which is marcrandolph.com, which is spelled with a C, Marc Randolph, or on Twitter at MBRandolph. Instagram is That Will Never Work, plus all the usual rantings and ravings on Facebook, LinkedIn, etc.
Oh, brother, thank you so much, man. It's just been an honor and a privilege to talk to you and to get to know the whole story behind the mythical company and the man behind it. I appreciate you being on the show, brother.
My pleasure. I really liked chatting with you as well.
Thank you. Hey guys, if you liked today's episode, do me a huge favor. Go ahead and leave a comment below, subscribe to the channel, leave me a review, and tag a few friends that you think can benefit from what we shared today. Really appreciate it. God bless.